Welcome, Akira Matsuda-san.
Hello. Hello, Modern Web. Hello, Taiwan. Hello, thank you. Very much honored to be here. As a keynote speaker today. But to be honest, I feel like, oh my God, why am I here? I'm sorry, I'm not a father of a language. It's very awful to be here because I'm not a father of any programming language. Today, I'm going to talk about Ruby. Ruby is a language created by Matz. This is Matz on the web. He defines himself as Ruby's papa. And actually, my name also contains Matz at the top, so you can probably regard me as a variation of Matz. But that's actually not really a special thing, because we know, even an airport in Taipei is Matz. So, actually, I'm not the father, but I'm rather a child of Ruby. So, as a Ruby kid, today I'm going to introduce the language for you. So this is me. I'm a Matsuda on the internet, basically. This is me on GitHub. I'm a committer of the Ruby language. Also, I'm a committer of Ruby on Rails framework. I'm a committer of Haml, which is a template engine written in Ruby. Also, I'm a member of the organizing team of Ruby Kaigi, which is the biggest Ruby conference in Japan. Also, I'm maintaining these and some more Ruby libraries, and basically, I work on these Ruby stuffs every day. So, apparently, I'm pretty much a Ruby kid, right? So that's me. And now, let me ask you a question. Who here is a Ruby programmer? Please raise a hand. Okay, not that many. Okay, thank you. I'm happy because I can introduce you, which probably you don't know. Okay, next comes an opposite question. Who here have never used Ruby before? So, there are so many programming languages in the world. So probably these who raised their hand will be another language's programmer, right? Like, you can find some of them on Wikipedia. These are list of programming languages. It shows only A, B, and C, but the list goes to Z at the very bottom. So, like this, there are so many languages. So, to show you, I just created a language map, and to show you that how Ruby is very unique above all these languages in some aspect. It's very small, but you can see, of course, JavaScript over there and PHP over here, and yes, the map looks like this. These are all some like 20 languages, 20 major languages today. And you may have already noticed that you see there's only one pin in the whole right half of the world. And that pin is Ruby, right? So in that sense, Ruby is very unique because it's made in Japan, and that means, and it's the only language in this area, the Asian area of this map. So Ruby was made in Asia, but Is that the reason why Ruby became popular in the world? No, I don't think so. Even in Japan, Ruby wasn't very popular. It firstly became popular in United States and then imported to Japan very recently. So, why Ruby became popular in US? Because I think because people liked the philosophy behind Ruby language. I think this is the true reason why Ruby is supported and loved by programmers all over the world. Ruby is designed to make programmers happy. Well, I'm not saying that Ruby is the only language that can make you happy. I'm not saying that I promise that Ruby will make you happy. I'm not sure, but then what does happy here means? Let me show you how Ruby has been making programmers happy by looking back to history. So, in the very beginning, back in 1993, one Japanese guy started creating a language, which was a scripting language conceived in pure object-oriented design. Actually, there was no particularly new paradigm invented by himself, but the language contained so many good parts of other languages and like very carefully balanced. This is how Matz himself described his language in Ruby Kaiki. Ruby is something like Lisp plus Smalltalk plus Perl plus C. Again, Ruby is designed to make programmers happy. So what does this mean? This is his words. Ruby is optimized for developers, not for computers. Where every other language is optimized for computers to make computers work fast for humans. Ruby is, from the very beginning, designed for humans. And also Ruby focuses on productivity of programmers, where almost every other language focuses on like efficiency, performance. Ruby's syntax is designed to be concise, succinct, something like simple and intuitive. So it feels natural to humans. It feels natural means it feels like a natural language. In this case, English. All these class names in Ruby and method names in Ruby are basically taken from English words. So I would say Ruby is heavily based on English. And Ruby feels like the closest programming language to English language, because you can write the Ruby code as if you're talking to someone, and the code reads very naturally like English language to other people. So we sometimes feel like we're talking to our computers in English. That characteristic of this language really helps improving our productivity and the code maintainability, because you can write like you're speaking. You can read like listening or hearing. And also Ruby is designed to be very flexible. It's a pure object-oriented language, so everything is in Ruby is an object, just an object. And also you can monkey patch anything. This is a quick example of how you can monkey patch everything. Like, you can monkey patch 1, so you can change the result of 1 plus 1. This is terrible. Please don't do this in a production application, but it's possible. The designer of the language allows you to do this. right? So it's dangerous, but I guess no one does this because it's just going to break your application. So Ruby allows you to do such powerful thing, but you can control what to do. In other words, Ruby trusts the users. Ruby gives you such powerful features, which sometimes helps us create like great programs, and yeah, it sometimes gives us feeling like we're almighty. We're like becoming a god. It's how we feel while working on Ruby programs. So back to the history. The first public release of Ruby was made in 1995. I said he started designing the language since 1993. So it took more than 2 years to make the first release. And then, next thing he created was communities. Ruby communities at this time means mailing lists. He created a mailing list right after he released his first version of Ruby. The mailing list was basically in Japanese because there were only Japanese users at the time. The mailing list was called Rubyist. Yeah, that was published his first Ruby, and then he created the mailing list as soon as he published it. So then afterwards, he separated the mailing list for a mailing list for discussing Ruby's core features from the users list. And he named the core mailing list Ruby Dev, a community of the Ruby developers, Ruby core developers. This also became a community. And then the next thing he created was the English mailing list for non-Japanese speakers. He wanted Ruby, his language, to be a worldwide language, and so he himself opened the door to the world and started promoting his language to the world in English. So that's how he designed his community. He created some mailing lists and called them communities. He separated users, normal users, and core developers, and then he created English-speaking community as well. Okay, this is about the communities. And next comes books. He wrote a Ruby book by himself, titled Object-Oriented Scripting Language Ruby. But the book was written in Japanese, only in Japanese, and I guess never translated into English. So this was done in 1999. It looks like this. An English Ruby book written by Dave Thomas and Andy Hunt, the pragmatic programmers. The book was titled Programming Ruby, and it's called The Pickaxe Book. It's really amazing that the book was written only 1 year later since the first Japanese Ruby book. And this book really helped Ruby to become popular in the world because David Thomas eagerly promoted the book and the language, like, hey, I found an awesome language and I fell in love with Ruby. That was how Dave promoted the language. So by this book, through this book, people in the world knew Ruby. So the language spread rapidly, and because of the nature of the language, Ruby, it's basically very much like English language. It's rapidly being accepted by English-speaking people. And then, next thing that was created by Matz was Ruby conferences. Did he? No, he didn't do this. Next came Ruby conferences, but this wasn't done by Matz himself. In 2001, the first Ruby conference happened in the United States, which was organized by the English-speaking community in US. So, the book, Matz created the community, and the community started the conference. First in the United States, before we started our Japanese conference in Japan, right? We started our Japanese conference in 2006, but the United States conference already started like 5 years ago, right? So this is how the conferences began. The next thing happened in Ruby community was the packaging system. Did Matz create this? Again, no. The packaging system in Ruby called Ruby Gems was created at RubyConf, the conference in the United States. So the Matz created the community, and the community created the conference, and the conference created a packaging system, right? And the next thing is the web framework. Did Matz create this? Again, no, it's not him. The web framework that I'm talking about is, of course, this thing, Ruby on Rails. So Ruby on Rails was created by a person called DHH, David Heinemeier Hansen. He created the first version of Rails in 2004, I think. The framework was initially created by DHH alone. Only DHH had the commit right for the first half year of the history of Ruby on Rails. And then he gave commit rights to some core members. And still, the framework is very, very actively developed by 4,000 contributors on GitHub. I think I'm going to talk about this later. Anyway, it's still actively improved. So the thing is, Ruby on Rails framework was created by DHH, and the framework is being actively maintained by the community. Okay? And Ruby on Rails. These are core features, key features of Ruby on Rails. Like convention over configuration, don't repeat yourself, and it has nice code generators. All these features are built in Ruby on Rails in order to aggressively focus on code productivity. Actually, this is what DHH says: write less code. And let me go back. These are all actual features to make this happen. Write less code. Right? So his philosophy perfectly matches Ruby's philosophy, because Ruby enables the programmers to write less code naturally and productively, right? So really, Rails is really a framework that extends the Ruby way. And I think that's why the framework is named Ruby on Rails, not Rails on Ruby. Also, Rails is based on sophisticated, powerful plugin system, which is quite a lot based on Ruby's flexibility. For example, if you want your active record models to support SQL, like query, you just can put something like this in your application, and then it enables you to write SQL like query like this. It's not supported by active record core, I mean Rails itself, but you just can make it. You just can do it, make it by yourself in this short plugin. I mean monkey patch. So this is the power of Ruby and Rails. Another example. If you don't like the way controller actions are defined, I mean handles the request parameter, you can put a monkey patch like this in your application, and then this monkey patch enables you to write your action methods like this. I'm sorry for non-Rails programmers, but anyway, this looks natural for me. So, because Ruby is such a flexible language, Rails has so many powerful plugins like these. And because Rails has the plugin system, the framework doesn't really cover everything. Instead of covering everything and including everything in as the framework core feature, Rails provides the plugin system and delegates so many features to plugins. For example, like these: authorization or file upload, pagination, or template engines, etc., etc. These are not built in the framework, but you can find plugins for doing this on the web, and you can use them in your application very easily. And because Rails has such plugin system, Rails encourages people to write their own plugins and publish them. So Rails gives, like, delegates more work to the users. That's how Rails trusts the users, just like Ruby trusts the users. And because users can create such powerful plugins, the community has got so many talented plugin authors in the community. So this way the community helps you develop your applications. This is based on DHH's philosophy. Don't repeat yourself. If you want to develop a typical feature like file upload or pagination, someone will do that for you. And you may be able to find such a plugin for you on the web. So you don't have to repeat someone's work for, like, pagination. Or if you find a bug on the framework or plugin, just fix it. You can fix it. And you can push it to GitHub, so that don't let other programmers repeat your bug. I think that's what don't repeat yourself really means. The whole community can be dry this way. All right? Don't repeat yourself. I'm so sorry for repeating this word, but don't repeat yourself. This is actually one of my favorite words. So, I said Matz just created the language and the communities. Then the community created everything else, like what's that? Conference or packaging system of a web framework. This was how the West was born. This was my talk title today for this talk, and this is the answer. Ruby was initially created in Japan, so born in Japan and raised in the community. The East alone didn't win, but the whole community won the current success of Ruby. So let me talk a little bit more about the community. Like what the community is like today. Is it still the mailing lists? Or does the community mean the Ruby developers or Rails developers? Actually not. The Ruby community today can be defined as a group of Rubyists communicating over the internet. This is defined by me today. So we programmers can communicate in natural language and in programming language, right? Because we can speak programming languages. And such activity, communicating to each other in programming language, is called social coding. The social coding is the way we do open sourcing today, and it means, again, communication with code. It's mainly done on GitHub, particularly within the Ruby community. And this is a fun fact that GitHub itself also is built with Ruby. So GitHub encourages social coding in Ruby, and Ruby builds GitHub. It's like very meta relationship, right? And I guess you remember that Ruby extends English, and it reads natural like English. So by this nature, Ruby very much fits the social coding activity. It works really great as a social coding protocol. Or we can say that Ruby is a true modern web language because it's driving modern web application development. The community is something that anyone can join. Of course you can join, because the community is there in your computer. It's there, right? So please don't be afraid to join the community. Maybe you're a little bit afraid of joining the community because the community is in English mainly, so there might be a language barrier. I don't think so, because we're all speakers of the same language called Ruby. So again, this is the community, a group of Rubyists communicating over the internet. So the word Rubyist. What is Rubyist? Who here thinks you are a Rubyist? Or who here wants to be a Rubyist? What is Rubyist? How can you be a Rubyist? Actually, Rubyist is a already defined word by Matz back in 1997. So Matz created this word, meaning people who ever have some positive feeling toward Ruby. this is the definition of Rubyist. It's not defined by Ruby programming skill, so you don't have to be a Ruby hacker to be a Rubyist. You can be a Rubyist, for example, if you are a promoter of Ruby, or if you answer someone's Ruby question, or if you organize a Ruby meetup, blah, blah, blah. So it's very easy to become a Rubyist. If you like Ruby, just tweet, "I like Ruby." Right? You're promoting Ruby this way, to promote Ruby to other people. So if you tweet, "I like Ruby," then you're a Rubyist. That's quite easy, right? And actually, it's very easily, you can do this with Ruby, which is awesome. You can just do this. Gem install T. There's a library called T for Twitter. And type in this command, T authorize. And then configure something. Then T update. "I like Ruby." With only these 3 commands, you can be a Rubyist. Yay. Okay, only 5 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna skip this part. So, I said the community is in your computers, but it's not just a virtual thing. I said it's a group of people, group of Rubyists. So actually you can meet the community face to face, like in conferences like this, or some local activities, which is usually called something.rb. And this is our community in Tokyo. I'm organizing a community Ruby user group called Asakusa.rb. This is a local community in Asakusa area. And it's a local community, but we get so many visits from all over the world, which is really awesome. Actually, we had like 3 visitors from Philippines, Germany, and United States last week. So we make friends to each other on the web and on such local communities. So, conclusion, I'd like to welcome you as well to Ruby. Be nice to each other, make friends with each other with Ruby, and enjoy hacking. This is actually a picture of my son. Anyway, and may Ruby be with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Akira Matsuda-san.